All right, guys, today we are back with more Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This time we're looking at Playmates Elite Figures Remastered 1988 editions. These figures get so much hate when they were announced, and who knows how they're selling. But we're going to take a closer look and see if that hate is warranted, or if we finally got some Ninja Turtles figures that have the articulation and the posability that we always wanted as a kid. So let's stop talking about it and let's get into those toys. All right, guys, here we go with the Playmates 1988 Remastered Elite figures. Of course, you got the 40 years of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. These are a callback to those original Ninja Turtles from when we were a kid, but updated for today's articulation with lots of additional accessories, display stands, and right away we want to take a look at this box. While it is in a box and not a blister card, they made sure to keep the essence of those original blister cards with that brick framework, with the cartoony art style. So very reminiscent of those original figures. Of course, we got our big, nice display window, so you can see that figure perfectly in there. Love to see that. So let's take a look at the side here. Of course, you have the figure on that display stand, which is nice. Again, this is a premium figure compared to the standard Playmates figures. And when you have a lot of choice on the market, stuff from Super 7, from NECA, and of course Playmates, there is a lot of options for these Turtles figures, but these are new and interesting, and again, the remaster of those original. As we turn around here on the back, you do have that cross cell, which shows the other figures in this line. Each figure has 13 points of articulation, a new sculpt that is very reminiscent of that traditional sculpt, but you'll see here they've added some texture detail, which has made a lot of people skeptical about the quality of these figures. So we'll get a closer look at those and we'll let you know what we think. So let's do what we do and let's get this thing open. All right, here's our first figure, of course, the first among the Turtles, Leonardo. So before we jump in too much, we want to take a look at this figure and all these points of articulation. As we scoot him up closer, of course, you can see that texture. And in the promo shots for these figures, however he was lit, maybe it was the prototype figures they used for those shots, the texture was so much more pronounced. It was very off-putting. A lot of people were worried about that figure, but having it up close here, that texture just adds a little bit of extra realism to the figure. And of course, when you want a premium figure, you do want a little extra texturization because it just adds a lot to the figure. So it actually ends up looking good. I was skeptical, as were a lot of people on the internet, what this would look like. But in person, it actually looks great. And of course, I love how you can just set this down and he stands, right? Even a little bit of wobble there because of the way how hard I put him down. They just stand. If you're a fan of those old Turtles, they're all locked into weird positions, which to me is very frustrating. As a kid, you can't really play too much with these when they're stuck in some weird pose. And your imagination, you just don't have anything there that lets you just play and pose them and do all different kinds of things. You're just stuck with that pose. And so it's good to see something like this come out with all this articulation. Of course, you have the shoulder. It turns at the shoulder, in and out. You have elbow turn and elbow up and down. We've got the turning of the wrist there, which is nice to see. Of course, the head is on a ball joint, so it does swivel a little bit up and down and around. One of the other things while we're talking about the head you may have noticed is if you're a fan of the vintage line, you will notice that Leonardo here actually has the head sculpt from Donatello. Was this a mistake? Was it intentional? It's hard to say, but they're just facial expressions. So the fact that it is just happens to be the smile that Donatello had, it doesn't bother me because, again, they're just facial expressions. They can all be having a different expression. And so the fact they didn't keep the exact same facial expression as the original toy from '88, I'm okay with it. Others may not. Others may disagree. Of course, we have the belt and cape here. And while it seems like we have some straps that may be able to come off, I'm not going to pull too hard on that. Overall, the belt looks like it's really not going to come off this figure. There's no other attachment or closure here where you could take the belt off. So although it is molded in a soft vinyl, it is not coming off that figure. Not easily anyway. On the back, you've got the spots for the tooth size, swords, whatever you want to call them, or katanas. There you go, calling them the wrong thing. We also have a couple pegs here, and as we look at the accessories that come with this figure, we do have a couple throwing stars, and so I wonder, while we're looking at the back here, do these clip on there and will they stay? And it doesn't seem like they do. So if you recall in the original toy, you had spots where you could mount these and keep them on the turtles, but in this case, it's a no-go. So while it comes with 2 of these throwing stars, unless you're actually going to have them holding them, they're just going to be loose. Of course, we've already shown the 2 katanas, so we can go ahead and just slot those in his back there, and they will slide across each other and in. And now we've got those in there. He also comes with another weapon, and this is a new weapon. This is a Klingon blade. I don't know what you would call this thing, but it's pretty interesting. This is a beefy weapon, so we can go ahead and clip these in here, and it should be noted that the first time you put these in, these things are pretty difficult to get in there, but I will say you never feel truly like with some of these that you're going to break them. They feel like they're pliable enough that they will slide in there and go in as intended. And so of course here we have Leo with this new weapon, which is pretty cool. We can make him, of course, hold this other throwing star as though he's getting ready to, drop kick somebody into next week. Let's get him a little more action pose there. And that's what's great about these. You have some of the articulation in the feet and the legs, so we can get some really more off-balance, wider poses that are a little more fun and to look at than, say, some of those traditional ones. One of the misses, I think, is that the toes aren't hinged and that the foot itself is not hinged. That really kind of limits what you're going to do to some extent, but compared to the old ones, the originals, way better, way more creativity can be had there. So as we get further into this, as I mentioned earlier, each does come with a display stand, and here is that stand. You'll notice we've got a hole to mount some accessories for this. We've got a pizza, some ooze. It is designed to be the top of a building as opposed to a street. And we have these connections all over there, which will allow us to connect these in a myriad of different ways. So there's no set way. We also have some peg holes for some other accessories if you wanted to slot those in there. And as we look at the specific package on this one, this is kind of how they show it on the demo. They have this little TV antenna plugged in here in the product photos, and then they have this skylight just kind of positioned over here. And while these little extra pieces are cool, they don't mount anywhere. They just kind of sit up here. There's no, you got this little raised thing. Well, that's just a metal grate molded in there. It doesn't really hold them in place. So you just kind of set these wherever to go for the look you're going for, I guess. And then, of course, you then just place the figure on there. No peg holes for the figure. So even though the figure has holes in the bottom, there is no peg holes to ensure stability and to keep him on the plate. So that's a little bit frustrating, but he is there. And while we're here, I did forget 2 other accessories. Of course, it comes with these, I don't know, daggers, knives, pizza cutters, whatever you want to call them. These additional ones, which these should look familiar. These came with the original. Of course, you punched them out, but they were all one solid brown color. And here we've got this nice metallic with the painted handles, which is always a nice touch. Again, just that little bit of extra premium feel to these and look to these than those originals. So again, $12.97, just under $13 for this figure. Does include the display stand. Pretty good value for all the accessories, for all the detail, or the articulation. I think this is really good. One of the other things you'll notice here, again, the shoulders are pins. So that's probably one of the things I don't like about this figure. You know, more modern figures are going with ball joints everywhere that allows you to more easily replace them if you need to. Gives you a little more motion, range of motion, than say a pinned shoulder or pinned knee. In this case, it looks like the pins are just in the shoulder. Nope, the pins are also in the hip joints there. And so whenever you have the pins, it's fine. It's kind of an older way to do it, but it's a cheaper way. And so it just doesn't feel as premium. You have these pins showing. But still, again, under $13. I don't know how much more value you can squeeze out of that and keep that price that low. So all in all, I'm really pleased with this figure. It is much better than I anticipated. So let's take a look at the next one. Okay, right away, let's take a look at Donatello. One of the things Donatello's always been like my favorite figure in the Ninja Turtles. I know for a lot of people my age, it was Michelangelo because of his carefree, funny attitude, or maybe it was Raphael because he was brooding. But for me, it was always Donatello, the nerdy one. I really liked his weapon, the bow staff, of course, which we have here. And let's see if, we do have a spot to put that. So let's go ahead and get that in place on the figure. And of course, love the detail on the bow staff. You can see, I don't know how well you can see that. You can see the grain of the wood on the staff. Of course, we got the paint on the wrap. So we got the nice brown and purple wrap there. Again, those 13 points of articulation, as we mentioned when looking at Leonardo. Here you have Donatello with that Leonardo, the formerly Leonardo facial expression. One of the things that just immediately stands out to me is the purple on this. I mean, I wouldn't call this purple. This looks to me like a navy blue or a really dark blue, akin to like the Broncos colors blue, only in a flat paint. So very strange considering you've got the bright purple on the wrap, and here is Donatello with the wrong color. So, or not as vibrant purple. So I think that's pretty interesting. Of course, again, all the texture, the different colors. So Donatello, of course, is a slightly darker almost brown shade of green, which is cool to see. And it comes with many of the same weapons that you'll see in Leonardo and the other figures. You got the 2 throwing stars, you got the 2 dagger weapons, so we'll just get those out of the way. But new, mentioned with Leonardo, you had that new kind of Klingon battle blade, whatever that is. Well, Donatello, famous for the bow staff, comes with a new bow staff weapon. And so you see that here. It is a staff with these mace balls on each end. So you can imagine him doing some serious damage to Shredder and the Foot Clan with this thing. And so let's get that in there. And all right, here he is, twirling that bow staff, smashing those maces, kicking some Foot Clan butt. So let's take a look, shall we, at the base that this one comes with. And at first glance, you might think, well, this is an identical base in every detail to the Leonardo base. And I would say you are right, except for one thing. And of course, you can see here the ooze paint is slightly different. So same square, same wire or pole, whatever this is, the same green and red wire up here, same pizza slice, same little protrusions sticking up, same accessory holes up here, here, and here. Otherwise, absolutely identical, but we do have a slightly different ooze mark. So I guess that's one way you can tell whose base is whose. So that's kind of interesting. And on this one, we also have an air conditioner. And they have that kind of place just like right there. And then we have a stovetop, a vent that just kind of squeezes on right there. So there is Donatello on a stand with the accessories. Again, these slide around so they don't really stay in place, but you kind of see how they intended him to be on there. So pretty cool. Let's take a look at Michelangelo. All right, once again, let's just plop that figure down. You can see it just stands up, not a lot of effort to it. Here we have this more brighter, almost aqua colored green for Michelangelo. Of course, the bright orange stripes, knee pads, elbow pads. Got all this points of articulation. Got him at the hip, the head, get the head swivel on there. All those 13 points of articulation we've already kind of looked at. On the back here, you can see he's got spots to hold his nunchucks. Got that detailing on the shell, which is that nice gray color. And I'll spare you the throwing stars and the daggers. We've seen those enough. So let's take a look at, here's the nunchucks, which comes with this nice metal band. So not beads, not plastic. It's a nice metal clasp. So you can get some action out of here if you actually want. But you also know it's going to stay together and last. Not something that would be easily broken. And so those for storage just slide right back there. Let's get that out of the way so it can actually fit in there nice. It's nice and tight, so you know it's going to stay. Put the other one back there. So there you go. He's got his nunchucks back there ready for action. And then, like the others, he comes with a more modern version or a more enhanced version of that traditional weapon. In this case, we've got nunchucks connected with this wire with these big blades on the end. So this Mikey means business. And so let's see, how are we going to get these? Let's get this like this. All right, so there he is with the badass nunchucks in place, ready to, again, whoop some bebop and rocksteady ass. Like the others, comes with the base. Again, identical base with the exception of the ooze. The spilt ooze pattern, again, is different. So this is the third different pattern, as can be expected. This one comes with some satellite dishes, which you can just plug in right there. Yeah, in case you're listening to some Sirius XM or watching the NFL Ticket on DirecTV, which hasn't been on DirecTV in a year. It also includes this air duct system, which just kind of isn't going to fit anywhere real nice, right? So just kind of sits there, I guess. So you can just place it right on there. There you go. And then let's get Mikey up in here. Scoot him over so you can see him a little better. And there you go. There is Michelangelo. And you know what that means? It means we got one figure left to take a look at. So let's jump in. Let's take a look at Raphael. All right, at this point, if you don't know what's coming, you just haven't been paying attention. So once again, we have Raphael in that 13 points of articulation. Here you can see we have straight up the place to put his size right up front. So we can just slide those right in here. As you can see, again, you got that nice two-tone paint scheme. Really nice feel with these weapons. One of the things I want to point out, which is cool, is the way these are sculpted. They're done in such a way that you can actually put that weapon in there in a lot of the way that people like to have him hold these, which you really couldn't do with those other figures. So it is nice to be able to get that weapon in there in that format. So really cool. Again, the texture on him, really sedated. The flat paint of the turtle skin is really cool. Really nice. The red is very close to the weapons on the bandana, unlike our Donatello, which stood out. On the back here, it looks like we finally have a character that has a spot to put that dagger. So much like the other ones, he does come with the two daggers and the two throwing stars. And so I'm sparing you that pain. This is where we get a little deviation, right? So Leonardo had the katanas, and his elite weapon was that big Klingon like sword battle axe thing. Donatello, the bow staff, came with the bow staff with the big maces on the end. Michelangelo with the nunchucks comes with a special elite nunchuck with the blades at the end, like he's going to go cut some corn down with nunchucks. Well, you might be thinking that Raphael here comes with some sort of advanced psi weapon, and you would be wrong. It looks like he comes with a bow staff, very similar to Donatello's, but instead we have hammers and claws on the end. So pretty interesting choice. Let's see if we can get him. I don't know if this is supposed to be a two-handed weapon or a one-handed weapon, but we will go ahead and get that in there potentially. There we go. It's working its way in there as though it is a one-handed weapon. And let's see if we can get him posed in an interesting way, maybe. I'm not sure how we're going to do that. Like, let's see. You get him like, yeah. Like he's ready to whack you upside the head with this thing. So, again, comes with another display stand. And just like all the others, it's exactly the same. But again, we have another unique ooze spill. So take that for what you will. Not sure why that's the only piece that is different. This one comes with a chimney, which just sits there again. Pretty odd choice that they do that. It also comes with a escape ladder. So you can go ahead and put that on there as well. And there you go. Put him on his stand. And that's your kind of final product there when it comes to Raphael on that stand. So pretty cool figure. Really like the posability of these. Like the textures. They came out better than I anticipated. The posability is awesome. Really adds a lot to what you can do with these figures. So now that we got them all, let's put them together and take a look at what they look like all as one unit. Alrighty, here you go. Now, because these all clip together, there is a myriad of ways you can assemble them. I think, personally, all in a line looks the best, like they are standing up on the same roof. But on the package, they put them back to back, like two walls. I don't know why you would do that with one wall here and one wall there. Just kind of seems silly to me, doesn't look right. But at least this gives you the impression they're all standing on the same roof, ready to go into battle. But there is a lot of opportunity. You could face them at each other. You could turn the, one side facing in, one side facing out if you wanted it to look like they were looking over the side of the roof on one side. So a lot of opportunity with these bases to really set up a display pretty nice. And all in all, I think these are amazing. I think these got a lot of hate when they were announced and they first pictured. I should say first pictured, because when they were announced, I think a lot of people were hyped about them, but they didn't see them. And once they saw them, there was a lot of consternation with the textures, and people were really fearful of these because of what they knew they could be. And I am super pleased. I think the hate that these got on their initial photo shoots is just unwarranted. I think these look really cool. They will look good on any shelf. I think this line looks great. Previously we showed the sketch versions of these. Again, the same kind of format with these display stands and these elite figures. That looks really cool. Less for play purposes and more for a cool display to recreate that original design sketch of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But these figures, I think, represent what can be in this line. And I would love to see this particular line of figures continue. I would love to see remastered Splinter, Shredder, Rocksteady, Bebop, Mondo Gecko, you name it. April O'Neil. There's so many great figures in this line. I would love to see them continue this and give all that extra articulation to all those other great figures. Well, there you have it, guys. We took a look at all 4 Ninja Turtles in the 1988 remastered line of elite figures from Playmates. What did you think? I have to say, the hate is not warranted. The texture on these things is very tasteful. It is an accent to the way Turtles would have looked if they were real. And of course, the color with those matte finishes really make the figures pop. This is everything I wanted as a kid. Finally, you get some real playability in these figures. The only complaint would have been better articulation in the feet. Maybe if the toes had a point of articulation or a ball joint on that foot that would allow us just to get slightly better poses. But even with it, as it is, man, there is so much more playability than those original figures have. And of course, with all the additional weapons and the paint on these weapons that really take that original vibe up to the next level, it's a mix of nostalgia and modern quality, which of course is what we look for in these modern recreations. So I love this line. I hope they continue it. I just can't say enough about how good this line of figures was. And so what did you think, guys? Do you agree with me, or am I lost? Did you think these really are horrible, like people thought they were going to be in those original promotional photos? Let me know down below. And you made it all the way to the end of this video again. So thank you for watching. I can't say enough how much I appreciate you spending time with us taking a look at these toys. So hit that like button. And if you're new here, subscribe for more content like that and like this tongue twister there. And remember to ring that bell for notification. And until next time, have fun.